New York City, news capital of the world. New York City has always been a city of change, from vaudeville to Broadway and tenements to apartment buildings. In recent years, one thing that has been changing is the news. People get their news in different ways. With the evolution of the internet, more people just go online to find out what they want when they want. News is an era of unprecedented change, and the city that is changing most is New York City, news capital of the world. A new form of mass communication has come about, the internet. As we speak, the internet is changing the news every day. More and more people go to the computer for news instead of picking it up every morning on their driveway.
At the end of the day, your story was due at about 6 o'clock, and the presses would start rolling at about 10 o'clock. And most people wouldn't even think about seeing that article until the following morning when they pick it up on their driveway or at the newsstand. But now, as you're working on the story for the end of the day, there's an editor standing over you saying, we'd like a version to put up on the web at 2. So it's a much faster pace, and it's a much more sort of frequently interrupted pace. There's no set deadline anymore. Every moment of the day is a deadline.
Richard Perez-Pena is a reporter for the New York Times who writes about the changing news industry. He says the internet has changed a lot, both for reporters and for readers.
Things get out much faster. News breaks around the clock, and it's disseminated much more widely. I mean, even 10, 15 years ago, it was possible for news to break someplace and for people in a lot of other places not to necessarily know that. Now everything is immediately disseminated. The internet sort of dictates everything about the pace. It also makes it just much harder for anyone to keep any secrets.
However, getting your news faster may have its consequences. When news services are pressured to get the news out faster, they may not check their sources before publishing an article on the web. This can lead to inaccuracy and somewhat untrue stories.
You're being asked to write multiple versions of a story throughout the day, and if you're doing that, you're spending less time actually reporting the story and gathering the information and making sure it's accurate. I think a lot of us, me included, feel like the accelerated pace sometimes gets in the way of the reporting and also makes it easier to make mistakes.
Perhaps the greatest change will be for that of the newspaper companies themselves. Putting out news in cyberspace, rather than the physical world, eliminates one of the costliest elements of a newspaper, the paper itself.
The two biggest costs of producing a newspaper are labor, paying my salary, and paper, newsprint. Newsprint is something like 15% of the cost of putting out a newspaper. If you went web-based, it's gone. Trucks, gone. People who run the presses, drivers, gasoline for the trucks, you could eliminate 40% of your costs by going web-based. And at a time when revenues are declining, it's a pretty important idea. Nobody's quite ready to do it or sure of how you would do it, but everyone in the industry is thinking about it.
Another positive factor of the internet is its availability. The World Wide Web is a tool that allows people all over the world to visit the New York Times website, whether they may have or have not seen a copy of the Times before. This attracts significantly more readers and even more revenue.
The number of people who read the New York Times online is now several times greater than the number of people who read it in print. It's kind of an amazing thing. I mean, it's already the third largest circulation paper in the country after USA Today and the Wall Street Journal. But like I said, we sell on average a little over 1 million copies on a weekday, 1.5 million on a Sunday. But according to the Nielsen ratings, the number of people who read the New York Times each month online is over 20 million. And our own internal figures say that it's actually much higher than that.
The use of the internet can lower costs for newspapers. It can also allow more people to read them online. Yet the news industry is also looking at the internet as a way to enhance a reader's news experience with different types of media, such as video and audio, in addition to still images and text. These features make reading an article more enjoyable and interesting to read, watch, or listen.
On any big newspaper's website, you'll already see a lot of video, and ours is probably the best example, but there are certainly others. I was looking at a Wall Street Journal article not long ago about elephants in Indonesia, wild elephants that come out of the jungle and trample farmers' fields, and eat the crops. And what they were doing, rather than killing the elephants, was using domesticated, trained elephants to scare them away. Guys would ride up to the wild elephants on trained elephants and make loud noises. And the wild elephants would turn around and go back into the jungle. This is a great article, right? It was a lot of fun to read, but the video that went with it was 10 times better than the article. I mean, you know, and streaming video of that quality, you couldn't do it 10 years ago. People didn't have high-speed internet connections. The servers weren't fast enough. But now, you know, I thought that was a wonderful example of how video, you know, can really add something. It's all over the place. People are definitely looking at a newspaper's website as a multi-platform news delivery system. There's almost no distinction anymore between what TV can do and what a newspaper website can do.